What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the NorCal Sports Report here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And of course, we had one hell of a week in Bay Area sports and Northern California sports. We're going to be talking about 3C2A scores. Stanford, Cal, like we always do, San Jose State. But the main event is the 49ers. They took on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a barn burner of a game. I thought it'd be a blowout. Instead, it was a close-ass game, and the Niners came out victorious in the end. The Warriors are on a tear right now. And they lost to one team, which was the Cavaliers, but they returned to form and kicked ass against the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're going to talk about that as well. Monday Night Football's tonight. That game sucks, but we'll see how they're doing. All this and more on the NorCal Sports Report here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go. Welcome to the NorCal Sports Report here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And man, we had one hell of a weekend. The Niners had a close-ass game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And man, that was a game that went down to the wire. It probably shouldn't have, but man, I got to give it to Baker Mayfield. That guy played his ass off, and he played with a lot of grit and a lot of courage too in the face of adversity. Adversity by the name of Nick Bosa. My God. But the Niners came out victorious in that game. The Warriors have been whooping ass and taking names at that. The Warriors are 8-2, heading over to Dallas tomorrow night at 7 p.m. But last night, they went against the Oklahoma City Thunder, OKC, and they whooped some ass. And we're going to go over that game and some of the games they played over the weekend as well. But before we get to all of that, because we have a lot to cover. Before we get to all of that, make sure you follow IE Sports on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and of course on YouTube. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. We're trying to get that channel to 1,000 subscribers. And with a fire season that we're having in the NFL, I think we could do that. This channel puts out a ton of content, and I love it. So definitely check out IE Sports over on YouTube. And we moved some stuff around here, so it's throwing me off. And also, if you're looking to follow us in podcast form, you can do so by following us over on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, our iHeartRadio. Wherever you find your podcast, you will find IE Sports Radio. And while you're on the web, check out iesportsradio.com. where they'll have a full catalog of all the shows that IE Sports Radio has to offer. So definitely check out iesportsradio.com. And while you're there, check out IE Sports Radio /shop. You can pick up some merchandise and apparel with this crazy badass logo. Right there. You got shirts, hats, all that stuff you're looking for. Go to IE Sports Radio /shop and check that out. If you want to follow me, you can do so over on X at NorCal Sports IE, or personally, my personal account, which is Dre Area Sports over on X, Instagram, and also subscribe to my personal channel, the Dre Area Sports on YouTube. Definitely check those out. That's badass. I love it. And also, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. You can follow them on Instagram over at Planet Jerky and place an order for the jerky over at planetjerky.net. This show is also brought to you by Seal the Deal Wax Celia's by Cecilia B. You can follow her over on Instagram at SealTheDeal_Wax Seals. If you want to make a purchase for the wax seals, definitely check that out over at iesportsradio.com /Seal the Deal Wax Seals. And definitely check that out. And with that being said, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Planet Jerky.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Four minutes past the hour here on the NorCal Sports Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And this past Sunday, we had one hell of a game for the San Francisco 49ers. They played against the Buccaneers on the road, 10 a.m. start time, and they won 23-20. And this was such a close freaking game. I was literally losing my shit. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Special teams again was a major problem for the 49ers. They had a muffed punt, which ended up turning into a turnover. Jake Moody, our kicker, who came back from injury, missed 3 field goals. He made 2, but he missed 3. So he made 2 out of 5. And now I know Kyle Shanahan did say that, hey, you're only as good as your last kick. But really, it's like, if you'd made the first 3, you wouldn't have to worry about your last kick because there wouldn't be a last kick. We would have won the game. But anyway, let's take a look at the numbers. Brock Purdy was 25 of 36 for 353 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a 119 quarterback rating. Brock Purdy was balling out there. I know some people were saying, well, he missed a target here and he wasn't quite accurate here. No, he had a great game. And I would say, above all, Brock Purdy showed again that in the face of adversity, he can overcome that adversity. The guy was pressured nonstop. He was sacked twice in the game and had a ton of pressures on him as well. But he made the plays when they had to happen, and that's why he is an elite quarterback, and his numbers are proving that. And it's not because, oh, well, he's got good players. No, he's playing at a very high level. When CJ Stroud doesn't have his weapons, it's okay. He's learning. He's learning. When Brock Purdy has his weapons, it's, oh, he sucks. See? He's Mr. Irrelevant. No, he still puts up good numbers. So I don't know what everybody's talking about. But, like I said, 353 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That was great. But the bigger story when it comes to the 49ers is that it was the return of Christian McCaffrey to the 49ers. Christian ended the game with 13 carries for 39 yards. And he finished the game with 6 catches for 68 yards. And this guy, in my opinion, was probably the player of the game. And I thought Brock Purdy played amazing, but at the same time, without Christian McCaffrey being on the field, I don't think their offense runs as dynamic as it did. It looked dynamic. I mean, the plays that they were able to make with McCaffrey out there was great, and it opened up things for everybody else. Ricky Pearsall, 4 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. He had a 46-yard touchdown in the first quarter. Deebo Samuel, 5 catches for 62 yards. Baller. George Kittle, 3 catches for 57 yards. And he had kind of a quiet day, but he had the touchdown in the corner of the end zone that was fucking beautiful. He caught that in the corner, got his 2 feet down. It was so freaking awesome. I loved every minute of it. It was great. Awesome. Juwan Jennings. The guy came back from injury, because the Niners are coming out the bye week. 7 catches for 93 yards. The guy was a baller, just killing it out there. I loved it. And Juwan Jennings has now, according to Kyle Shanahan, has now been assigned at the X position. So he's filling in the place of Brandon Ayuk, which means that Ricky Pearsall will be more of a slot receiver, which is why they drafted him in the first place. On the other side of things, Baker Mayfield was 18-29 for 116 yards and 1 touchdown. He had an 82 quarterback rating. His numbers are okay, but if you watch that game, I got to give it to him, man. I thought Baker Mayfield played just a great game. Just a clutch game. I mean, he had Nick Bosa hanging off his arm while he threw for a first down on 4th down. That could have ended the game. And he kept the drive going. But the Niners defense, look, they had a hard time against the rushing attack. Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. Irving had 13 rushes for 73 yards and a touchdown. Rachaad White had 10 touches for 31 yards. No touchdowns. But Bucky Irving was averaging 5.6 a carry. I mean, they were gashing the Niners. And this is one of the big things that we talked about, was that how do you shore up your run defense? And this is going to be a problem. We had a hard time stopping Bucky Irving, Rachaad White. Think about when the Niners play Josh Jacobs against the, or with the Green Bay Packers. Or when they go against James Conner and the Arizona Cardinals. Montgomery and Gibbs, the Detroit Lions. It's going to be brutal. The Niners got to figure out how to shore up that interior run game. They're running it right up the middle on the Niners, and they're having a hard time stopping them altogether. And that's not a good sign if you're the Niners. It's not a good sign. They got to figure that out. Receiving wise, Rachaad White had 6 catches of 39 yards and a touchdown. He had a baller game. Cade Otton, 5 catches of 35 yards. It seems minimal, but he had some very tight window catches and clutch catches as well. as well that kept the drives going. So he was a problem in the first half, but it seemed like in the second half they kind of slowed him down. And so what I love to see is that, look, I thought Baker spread the ball out. You know, you had guys like Bucky Irving had 3 catches, Ryan Miller had 1 catch, Jarrett had 2 catches for 10 yards, you know. But the Niners, he went to his big 3 receivers and then his running back and his tight end. 7 catches for Jennings, 4 catches for Pearsall, 6 catches for Christian McCaffrey. And I loved, and well, let me finish that. Deebo Samuel, 5 catches, George Kittle, 3 catches. But I love seeing Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield, and I love seeing Brock Purdy utilizing his check down, which is something that he didn't always do earlier this year. It felt like he didn't trust throwing the ball to J.P. Mason or to Isaac Guerrero. But with McCaffrey there, he is such a more active option that we saw him use that check down and keep the chains moving. And I love seeing that. I thought he did a great job. So big game by the Niners, but we got to talk about special teams. Okay, special teams has been a problem all season long. They rank last in special teams, or the worst special teams in all of football. Jake Moody came back from injury. They cut Anders Carlson, said, thank you for all your help. We have our kicker back. Thank you. What does he do? He comes out, makes the first field goal. Hey, this is great. Got Jake Moody back. And then he proceeds to miss 3 consecutive field goals. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. He cost us 9 points in this game. Special teams as a whole cost the Niners 16 points. It's not good. It's not good. Without that muff punt turnover, it's crazy what the score could have been without the special teams blunders. The muff punt that led to a touchdown, and the 3 missed field goals. It's just unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. And somehow, some way, the Niners still pulled it off, because even though the defense was having a tough time against the run, stopping Rashad White and Bucky Irving. I think Irving's a really good player. He's a rookie this year, but man, that guy looks good. They came through when they had to. When their backs were against the wall, the Niners defense got the stops when they needed to. Now, that last drive by the Buccaneers, holy shit, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I couldn't fucking believe what I was seeing. It was one penalty after another and helped them drive. They were basically pulling the Buccaneers down the field with them with all of their penalties. Illegal hands to the face mask. Just one thing after another. I couldn't believe it. I thought for sure they were going to score a touchdown, but the defense held up. They stopped them and forced them into a field goal, and that was huge. A field goal tied the game, and that allowed them to drive down the field and kick that field goal for Jake Moody to finally make a kick after he missed 3 to win the game. Now everybody's happy. Jake Moody's the hero. Now, if he missed that last kick, I don't know where he'd be right now. I think he'd still be on the Niners, but the fans would be going apeshit to try to get to that guy because, oh man. Now, going into this game, everyone talked about Christian McCaffrey's workload. Oh well, we gotta ease up the workload. Ease up the workload. He's just coming back. We can't do this. He was out there all the time. In the first half, there were a few series where they took him out. I know Jordan Mason had 1 carry for 5 yards. Guerrero had 1 carry for 0 yards, and that's it. And other than that, I know Deebo, he had 3 carries for 14 yards. I don't know what it is about this year, but it just seems like Deebo Samuel doesn't have that it factor when it comes to running the football. It seems like whenever they do an end around, whenever they hand it to him, nobody's fooled. And there's never any running lanes. I don't know. I love Deebo, but it just seems like when he gets the ball as a running back, he just doesn't have that explosive ability that he had a few years ago. But still, I think he's still a viable option out of the backfield, but he just doesn't seem the same as he did, especially in 2019. I want to say. I could be wrong. The year where we lost to the Rams, that was his breakout year. He was unstoppable as a receiver and as a running back. My God. But it just doesn't feel the same. I think teams are just scheming for that. They know they keep an eye on him, and he seems to not be able to turn that corner as quick as he used to, but I still love Deebo Samuel, man. Still love him. Ricky Pearsall, 4 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. He had a 46-yard touchdown that he caught across the middle on a dime from Brock Purdy. He had 4 catches on 6 targets. But I love seeing Pearsall run that route, and it's the same kind of route that Juwan Jennings used to always run as well. The crossing route. I think they call it a Dover route. If you watch Johnny Dale's Football Academy, like, share, and subscribe. But he ran that crossing route, and he took that all the way to the house for a touchdown. It was a great play. Great to see him out there and recovering from, the gunshot wound. My God, this guy could have been dead, which is terrible. But he recovered. Now he's back on the field, and you see why they drafted him. I mean, the guy, for the most part, he's doing exactly what Brandon Ayuk was doing this year. So 4 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. Those are Brandon Ayuk numbers, especially from this year. So happy to see that. On defense, I thought Leonard Floyd had more pressures. He had a pass deflection, and 1 tackle, but he was there on a lot of the sacks. Malik Collins had a sack. Nick Bosa, oh my God, what can I say more about Nick Bosa? He had 4 tackles and a sack, but he was applying pressure to Baker Mayfield all freaking day. And that's the problem, too, is that a lot of people watch these games. They go, well, he only had 1 sack. Well, he only had four tackles. But if you watch the game, he was applying pressure. He is a constant threat to every quarterback every time they drop back. Even if he doesn't get through to the quarterback, he's somebody that they constantly are looking over and they're constantly worrying about. He gets in their head. And so I thought he had an amazing game. Almost had that second sack where he was hanging off of Baker's arm. But I thought he played a great game. Definitely was a difference maker out there on the defensive line. How about Demo Lenore? 7 tackles. Him and Malik Mustafa, who also had 7 tackles, were flying all over the field and were able to really do a number on their running game, especially early on. But 14 tackles between the two of them, and a lot of those tackles were in the backfield, which was great to see. Another guy, Renardo Green. Man, this guy had 5 tackles and 2 pass deflections. The guy was money. He was playing cornerback, the outside corner, in place of Charvarius Ward, and I thought he looked really, really good. In my opinion, at the end of this season, I think Charvarius Ward, they're going to let him walk because they found his replacement in Renardo Green. This guy's really good. And he played a lot of man at Florida State. And so I think this is the guy who's going to replace Charvarius Ward. Now, obviously, our thoughts and prayers go out to Charvarius Ward, who recently lost his 1-year-old daughter. And it's a horrible thing. So our thoughts and prayers go out to Charvarius Ward and the Ward family. Just a terrible thing. Unbelievable. Just really, really sad. But back to the game, of course, Fred Warner, 9 tackles, 6 solo tackles. The guy was everywhere. He is everywhere. If there's ever a real-life superhero, it is Fred Warner. The guy is incredible. But there's another player on defense I want to talk about. It's a guy that, like, if you watch Post-Game Live over on Dre Area Sports, we talked about this. We talk shit about him all the time, Devondre Campbell. At the beginning of the year, he did not have very good games. He looked slow. He looked overmatched. He looked out of place. But in the last 2 games, against the Cowboys and on Sunday against the Buccaneers, I thought Devondre Campbell had probably his best game of the year. He had 1 pass deflection and 7 total tackles. I kept seeing him on the field making those tackles, and I thought, you know what? Devondre Campbell he's starting to step it up. Is he feeling the pressure? Maybe. Does he know that his playing time is almost up because Dre Greenlaw's coming back? Maybe. Maybe he wants to make a good impression because he knows he'll probably be a free agent next year. Maybe. Either way, I think he's playing out of his mind. This is the second game in a row that he's played much better than he has all season long. So I love seeing that. I wish he would have started the year this way, but at least he's done it 2 games in a row. And they're going to have their hands full because next week they come back home to take on the Seattle Seahawks. And I really believe the Niners have the Seahawks number. I don't see the Seahawks really being much of a threat to the Niners, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But like I said, the Niners hang on to win 23-20 on the road in Tampa from a Jake Moody field goal after he missed 3 consecutive kicks. He came back and kicked the game winner to win the game. The Niners improve to 5-4. Buccaneers drop. What did they drop to? They dropped to 4-6 on the year. And it's crazy too because when you look at the statistics, if the Niners won this game, they had a 68% chance of making the playoffs. If they lost this game, that dropped down to like 33%. It's not good. Tampa Bay had a 45% if they win the game. If they lost this game, it drops down to like a 20% chance of making the playoffs. So this is a game that both teams had to have, and you can see it on the field. They were both going hard. And the Niners came out victorious, 23-20. Hell yeah. And they move on to next week where they come home to play the Seattle Seahawks. So all good things when you have wins, all good things for the 49ers. When we come back, we're going to be covering the Golden State Warriors, Stanford, Cal, San Jose State, and a few other things as well. Guys, you're watching the NorCal Sports Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Galise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports, and I will update you on all that's black and gold. Have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Galise, the User Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
44 minutes past the hour here on the NorCal Sports Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And you know what? I just realized something. Let me see. There we go. The IE Sports Radio logo wasn't there. That's crazy. So let's move on to our next topic, which is going to be the Cal Bears. Now, the Cal Bears took on Wake Forest, and this was one hell of a game. They won by a final score of 46-36. Fernando Mendoza went off again for the Cal Bears. Cal improves to 5-4, while Wake Forest drops to 4-5. Looking at the numbers, Fernando Mendoza again, 40 of 56 for 385 yards and 2 touchdowns, one pick. He had a 137.4 quarterback rating. He was sacked 3 times. Hank Backamer for Wake Forest, 19 of 36 for 274 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, and he was sacked 7 times. The Cal defense stepped up again and really put the pressure on Hank and made it tough for Wake Forest offense to get going. But they won by a final score of 46-36. And when you look at the numbers too, Mendoza also rushed for 51 yards and a touchdown. The Jet, Javian Thomas, he had 5 carries for 33 yards. Jaden Ott had 14 carries for 23 yards. Javian Thomas also had a touchdown on the ground as well. Mikey Matthews had 8 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown. Baller. And Isaiah Hunter, 5 catches for 75 yards. And Tobias Merriweather, 6 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown as well. So he was really spreading the ball out to a lot of his receivers. It's really crazy to see how many of his running backs and his receivers caught the ball. It was awesome to see Cal pull out this win by a final score of 46-36. They improved to 5-4, while Wake Forest drops to 4-5. Let's talk about the Stanford Cardinal. Wait a minute. Hold on. Stanford, I thought they played NC State, but I think that was last week. Let's see here. That was on 11-2. Yeah, so Stanford didn't play this past Saturday. They will play this Saturday on the 16th against Louisville. The last game they played against was against NC State, and they got crushed 59-28. And what's funny is that they played against Wake Forest the week before that, and they lost 27-24. So they had a chance to win that game. But when Cal took them on, it was a whole different story. Cal won by 10, 46-36. Been a long season for Stanford. I think next year they're going to put together a better record, better year. But we'll see how they turn out next year. Let's move on to San Jose State. The San Jose State Spartans took on the Oregon State Beavers, and they won by a final score of 24-13. San Jose improves to 6-3, while Oregon State drops to 4-5 over in the Pac-12. Oregon State, that is. Let's take a look at the numbers. Walker Eggett was 18-35, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Ben Goldbranson, man, that's a mouthful. Goldbranson was 24-37 for 292 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. He was also sacked 3 times. Floyd Chalk, 11 rushes at 45 yards and a touchdown for the Spartans. Nick Nash, what doesn't this guy do? 6 catches for 161 yards and a touchdown. He had his longest reception was 40 yards. Baller. Always is, always does. Nick Nash he does everything for this team. Freaking so good. And like I said, San Jose State wins by a final score of 24-13, and they improved to 6-3. This was a big game for them, and I was glad to see them get that win, get it back in the win column, because they deserve it. They've been playing their ass off all year, and I love seeing them win. So good on the San Jose State Spartans for getting that win against the Oregon State Beavers. San Jose State will now move on. Where are they at? Well, that's their record. They're going to move on to play Boise State on the 16th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. It's going to be on CBS Sports Network. But that's going to be a big game against Boise State. So hopefully this has bowl implications for San Jose State. And real quick, the Sharks, they win over the New Jersey Devils 1-0. Sharks still having a tough year, but they got the win over the Devils, so good on the Sharks. Let's talk a little Golden State Warriors. The Warriors had... Okay, where do I begin with the Warriors? They've been so good this year. And I think that, for the Warriors, they had a tough stretch where they went against some really good teams, and everyone was kind of doubting if the Warriors were actually legit. They got Steph Curry back, and they played against the Washington Wizards, and they won by a final score of 125-112. But this is where the real hard team started. They went up against Boston on national television, and they beat them in Boston 118-112. Riding that high, they took on the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were undefeated. And they got smoked. They lost 136-117. And look, that was a game where Cleveland got off to a hot start. The Warriors got off to a bad start. And at that point, there was just no going back. They couldn't keep up. And the Warriors kind of called it at one point and said, okay, look, we're done. Let's just chalk this one up to a loss. And let's move on. And they did that because the next game, they played against the Oklahoma City Thunder, another team that is really, really good this year. They're 8-2. They were 8-1 at the time, but they lost to the Warriors. Warriors pulled out this win 127-116 in a game where they led by almost 30 points at one time. In fact, when you look at the quarter breakdown, right? First quarter, OKC had them 33-26. Second quarter, Warriors beat them 39-25. Third quarter, 42-21. Just dominant basketball playing. Now, yes, Chet Holmgren did go down for OKC, but still, at the end of the day, Andrew Wiggins, 18 points, baller. Steph Curry had 36 points in this win. Just going off. He also had 7 assists and 5 rebounds. DeAnthony Melton, 19 points. And Kuminga also chipped in with 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, and 20 points. I mean, look. The only player that really didn't play that usually does play is Kevon Looney. Everybody else played. Moody had 3 points. Gary Payton had 7 points. Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, he had 6 points. Buddy Hield with 8 points. He actually had a quiet night. But the depth of this team continues to be one of their strengths. When you can give 15, 20, and 26 minutes to your bench players, that's huge. Huge. But the loss of Chet Holmgren really did hurt the OKC Thunder. He's averaging 16 points a game, almost 9 rebounds and 2 assists. That was a big loss for them. He landed on his hip, and he was out. But this proves that the Warriors can take on a better team and still pull out the win. It wasn't like, they lost Chet Holmgren and they barely etched out the win. No, they lost Holmgren, and they still. The Warriors blew them out, which they should have. A good team would do that. You're going to lose one of your superstars, we're going to blow you out. They still had Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He ended the game with 24 points. Jalen Williams, 20 points. And Dort had 16 points. But obviously the loss of Chet Holmgren really did hurt them. But I love seeing the Warriors go on the road to OKC and get this win. That was freaking awesome. So the Warriors improved to 8-2 and are third in the West, while Oklahoma City falls to 8-2 and they are second in the West, which is kind of weird if you ask me. But anyway, and now the Warriors will head tomorrow night to take on the Dallas Mavericks, which is going to be the return. I think they're on the road though, aren't they? Yeah, they're at home. This will be the return of Klay Thompson to the Chase Center in San Francisco. This is going to be huge. Klay Thompson played his entire career with the Golden State Warriors, and now he's coming back for the first time in a different uniform to take on the Warriors. We'll see how he does. I think he's going to have a big game. He's going to want to prove himself. He's going to want to prove to the Warriors that they should have re-signed him. I think they made the right choice because he was in the twilight of his career, but he has turned things around over in Dallas. So we'll see how that game shakes out tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on TNT, which is going to be fun to see on national television. The Warriors, look, they went through a tough stretch. Went through Washington, Boston, Cleveland, and OKC. But it doesn't get any easier. They got Dallas, Memphis, the Clippers, Atlanta, and then New Orleans, who's a good defensive team with Zion. So it doesn't get much easier for the Warriors. But so far, they've handled this road trip extremely well. And now they come back home to take on Luka Doncic, Klay Thompson, and the Dallas Mavericks. Oh, and don't forget about Kyrie Irving. Can't forget about Kyrie. Fuck that guy. Can't stand Kyrie. Can't stand him. Anyhow, Warriors take on the Mavs tomorrow night. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Niners' upcoming matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. You're listening to the NorCal Sports Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen D, host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernick, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Check out Chi-Town Weekly. That'll be airing today at 5 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we round things out here on the show, we want to talk about the upcoming matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks this Sunday. Now, for the Niners, they have owned the Seahawks. Ever since the Legion of Boom has gone away and Russell Wilson has moved on to Pittsburgh, the Niners have dominated the Seahawks, sweeping them last year and could sweep them again this year. I know that the Seahawks will be getting back DK Metcalf, so that should be something for them to look forward to. But our DBs are extremely good. And the only way you can really beat the Niners is if you're able to get rid of the ball fast, which Geno's really good at, and run the ball, which I'm sorry, but the Seahawks aren't the best. Actually, what is this? The Seahawks are not the greatest running offense, but they're pretty good. They're pretty good. The Seahawks running offense. Let me see. Do I have this right? Yeah, running offense. The Seahawks rushing offense on the year. They're ranked 27th in rushing offense. That's terrible. Only teams that are worse than them are the Browns, the Bengals, the Jets, the Cowboys, and the Raiders. Not really good company to be kind of hanging around with. Their overall scoring offense is ranked 14th. The Niners are ranked 7th. They're averaging 23 points a game. Niners are averaging 26 points a game. So, again, offensively, we're better. We have the number 4 rushing offense, while they have the 27th rushing offense. Where their offense is better on is that they have the number 1 passing offense, averaging 268 yards a game. The problem is the Niners have a very good pass defense. Now, how does that break down? The passing defense of the Niners is 14th, while the Seahawks are 18th. So the Niners are getting about 209 yards a game, but I think their defense has been a lot better, and I think that our DBs are better as well. So they're going to give them a harder time and getting open. Renato Green and Charvarius Ward, I don't think will play, but he may come back, which would be great because that means that we have 3 dominant corners out there in Renato Green, Charvarius Ward, and Demo Lenore. It's been a baller. But overall, though, total defense. Niners are ranked 10th in total defense. The Seahawks are ranked 22nd in total defense. And I think that's where they're going to have a problem. Because now, not only are we dealing with a Niners team that has one of the highest ranked offenses in the league, Niners have a number 2 ranked offense in the league, averaging 412 yards a game. But now you're adding Christian McCaffrey back into that equation. And we saw the things that McCaffrey can do for you, opening up passing lanes for other receivers. That pass that Brock Purdy threw him, where he basically just threw it up, a big high-arcing pass that only a guy like Christian McCaffrey can identify, make the adjustment, and make that catch, which was a huge play against the Buccaneers. Historically, the Seahawks haven't done a very good job against Christian McCaffrey, especially. So I think the Niners are going to have a big game. I think the Niners are going to win big against the Seattle Seahawks, who don't have a very good defense. They don't. And I think that they're going to be able to put up a lot of big numbers against the Seahawks. Plus, we're going to be at home. So I don't see the Buccaneers. I'm sorry. I don't see the Seahawks. I'm a guy, I can't even talk. Putting up much of the fight. Now, the Buccaneers did have a pretty weak defense. They were the 30th ranked defense, and they were playing their ass off. But at the same time, they had a lot to lose in that game. Now, the Seahawks, they're coming off the bye. So they're rested. They've been game playing for the Niners. But I'm telling you, with the return of Christian McCaffrey, I don't see the Seahawks staying with the Niners offensively. I think the Niners end up blowing them away in a case where they just can't keep up with San Francisco. The final score of this game, I'm going to say 27-17 Niners. And the Niners will improve to 6-4, where they'll move on to take on the Green Bay Packers, and after that, the Buffalo Bills. You got to get these 2 games. You got to get this game. You had to get the Buccaneers, and you have to get the Seahawks, because you're going up against Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. So you had to do that. You had to get these 2 wins. So this next Sunday is a critical win for the Niners, as they're about to take on 2 powerhouse teams in the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills. But like I said, I'm seeing the Niners win. 27-17 is my my prediction. I think this is finally the game where they really blow it open. I can see them going all the way up to like 31 to 34 points, but I'm going to be a little more conservative and say 27-17 Niners, and they will improve to 6-4. Really excited to see the Niners with Christian McCaffrey. They're just an entirely different team, a more dynamic team. Now, special teams might be a problem. It's a problem every week. They're terrible on special teams. My God. But against a team like the Seattle Seahawks, I think we can pull this one off because we have to. Especially next week, the week after next, we have to go to Lambeau to take on the Green Bay Packers. While the following week after that, it's Sunday night in Buffalo. That's going to be a tough game. But that actually might mark the return of Dre Greenlaw. When we get him back, whoo! It's going to be lights out for any kind of running attack against the Niners defense. I'm telling you, this guy is incredible. So we'll see how that turns out. Like I said, Niners win. I think that they're going to win 27-17 over the Seattle Seahawks, and they will improve to 6-4. Guys, that's going to do it for the NorCal Sports Report. I want to thank everyone who came out here. I want to thank Larry B for putting this on. I want to thank IE Sports Radio. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to IE Sports Radio on YouTube and on X. Follow me on X as well at Dre Area Sports. Check out my YouTube channel. It's called the Dre Area Sports over on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe. Check out my website, nicotina.net. That's the website for all three of my channels, including Dre Area Sports. Memberships are available as well, so definitely check that out and help support the channel. The Niners got a big game next week against Seattle Seahawks. I think they'll get it done. Warriors take on the Mavs. I think they'll get that done as well. Stanford, Cal, San Jose State. I think Stanford's probably going to lose, but I think Cal and San Jose State can get it done. But we'll see how the how the games play out. But we'll see how it goes. Guys, that's going to do it for the NorCal Sports Report here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace!